Okay, Dave Portnoy or Big Cat. So Dave makes the worst list and the best list. So why does Dave make number 10 on the list? And how about Big Cat?
This is simply due to private jet access. Um, I know, I know you've been invited on the private jet plenty of times, Roan, for rough and rowdy and stuff, but I feel like half the company has been on a private jet, but I still have not gotten the invite, and it is a dream of mine. And I feel like if I traveled abroad somewhere with Portnoy or Big Cat, there is a chance I would get access to a private jet at some point. Although I'm sure it's like, I don't even know if they can afford to take a private jet to Europe because that shit is like beyond expensive. Um, but yeah, normally I'm not the most luxury traveler, but I love a taste of the high life, and I feel like with one of these two guys, I would get it.
I think that you say invited on the private jet like it's like I'm getting an invite to a birthday party. Like I just had to go for work. I was just like doing something with them for work. It's not like they were like, "Hey, do you want to like spend a weekend on the private jet with me?" But I know what you're saying, but I don't even like I don't their planes are too small. Like they've traveled on the planes, the types of planes that crash. That's not appealing to me. I'd rather be in the Emirates suite, I'd rather be on a double decker plane where I can where there's like a cuck chair and a fucking lay down bed, that's the kind of shit that I'm into.
Well, I guess I would probably have access to one of those rooms with Portnoy too, because I think when he flew to London, he had one of those rooms where you just have like the private room. And did you say cuck chair?
I think that there's like a swivel chair in some of the Emirates ones, but you have like a chair like facing the bed.
I would not be shocked. I mean, have you ever been on a flight that just has a straight up bar? Like it's got a bar and some stools where halfway through the flight you can get up and go and sit at it and order a cocktail?
No, it sounds amazing. That sounds like a foregone era of travel. That fucking rules.
I saw someone on one of those flights recently, so I think they still have them, but I was like, damn, that like, where have those been all my life?
Traveling with a rich person is definitely the move. It's definitely nice to have somebody that is going to foot the bill and put you in nice places and has a high standard of taste for themselves.
Hmm.
Let's get to number 9. Large.
Large. He also appreciates the finer things in life. Um, but unlike Portnoy, I have kind of filmed content with him in the past. We get along well. Um, he claims to have the best palate at the company, which I guess I'd agree with. I think I have a solid palate as well. Just people don't think of me because I'm most known for just eating disgusting food. But I can find good food too. But with large, yeah, we would just be hitting fine dining establishments. Uh, he knows like a good bar when he sees one. So I think we would get along well and just probably end up with gout after the trip, but just be enjoying the finer things in life.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. That sounds like he's the kind of guy that you want to be going around with because he's curious. He knows a lot about food, and he's going to want to have a drink or two as well. Like that guy's going to be like, "Hey, let's stop for a beer. Let's stop for a cigar." That's the kind of shit you want.
Hmm. And I do think you would be good at that too. You seem to be a foodie of sorts.
Yeah, I think foodie is like a soft term. It sounds like it sounds like a little bitch made, but I do enjoy food. I want to try every food. There's no type of food that scares me, but I just think that it's like it's just the term is what I quibble with. But outside of that, I mean, I'll try anything. We're going to Koreatown today with the backpack, and then Chinatown after that with the backpack. And I want to try some weird shit. You know what I mean? Some ducks or some like teas that are in a can shaped like a teddy bear, or some desserts that like you don't know what the texture is going to be.
Sick. That's going to be a great stream. I'll tune in for that.
They said the chat said foodie is a soft slur.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Okay, let's get to number 8. Chaps, of course, your co-host on Drop a Pin.
Yeah, I had to show some love to my co-host. He's not hired just because we have We have yet to do a trip together. Our first trip will be June 15th for the NASCAR race in Mexico City. He's also not higher on the list because he struggles with diarrhea normally. And so when you already have a diarrhea issue and then you're going abroad, that's just going to compound on the amount of diarrhea. So that's a slight concern. But just from talking to him on the pod, he's also a very curious guy, loves to learn about foreign countries. And I think we would enjoy doing a lot of the same things
He's
when
not
we
afraid to
travel.
rough it.
Yeah, yeah, I would assume so, unless he's gone soft since the military. But he's got a lot of experience being in high stress situations, so hopefully could count on him to keep his cool under pressure.
He doesn't need
And
electronics. He could just crack a book.
yep,
Uh, sh-
big reader.
Shout out to his book club. Let's get to number 7 on the list. Za.
Shout out Zani does Zimbabwe, another travel series of mine. He was a delight the entire trip, welcomed me into his parents' home, into his ancestral village. Fun loving guy. I think he brings good vibes. Um, People love to be around him. And yeah, I can say, as someone who has been abroad with him, it was a lot of fun. I was calling him Zambezi Za just because he was crushing so many Zambezi beers when we were down there.
He has the opposite thing going on that beef does. You fit him in anywhere.
Yeah, but he is a sturdy dude, like very thick, very heavy. So he's not as light on his toes as you'd suspect. But yeah, you could wouldn't have to worry about any space constraints in Hong Kong.
Let's get into number 6.
Chef Donny, we've traveled together a lot, and I think one of the fan favorite series is Donnie does Tajikistan, which was me, Chef Donnie, and my tour. An insane trip where we traveled from China to Tajikistan, then from Tajikistan to Hong Kong for China. And the fact that we didn't end up killing each other, uh, I think is just goes to show you he's a pretty solid guy to travel with.
Let me ask you this. Everybody's saying, where would Lil Sass fall on the do not travel list?
Little Sass is a tough cookie to crack. Like, I remember when we were both working in the New York office, a couple times I would text him a joke or something like that, just try to like kindle the relationship, and he just wouldn't respond. So I eventually was like, all right, I guess Sass is just not interested in being my friend.
But didn't you guys shoot a video with Frank the Tank together where it was a behind the scenes of a behind the scenes of a behind the scenes of a behind the scenes?
Yes, I was the first person to put Sass in a video, so he pretty much owes me his entire career.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't forget.
Yeah, people are saying he's a lone wolf. I think that
But
he might be hard to
does
get along
Sass, I
with.
mean, Sass is a very outdoorsy person. I'm trying to do more outdoorsy stuff, go for more hikes. I've never fly fished before. I'm not a big fishing guy, but the fact that he appreciates the outdoors, I think we would have a good time abroad together.
And the outdoors look the same no matter what country you're in, for the most part. Outdoors could be outdoors anywhere. Um, let's get to the top 5, brother.
Yeah.
Fights.
All right. This is a tough one. I mean, Roan, if you want to make a case for why you should be, I'm just seeing if the internet connection is better out here. Turn
You,
on some lights.
you just want to show off that you have multiple pairs of French doors in your house and a fucking 2-story window. You son of a bitch.
Is this any better?
Oh, this looks, yeah, they're getting thumbs up from the booth.
Okay. So Fights, he seems to be like a very go with the flow type of guy. Like he can kind of adapt to whatever situation he's in. I would say something similar about you, Roan. You're a very adaptable guy. Um, I did a duck hunting trip with Fights in like rural Arkansas, and then I wouldn't call this a trip, but I also spent some time at Margaritaville Times Square with Fights,
It's a trip.
and I feel like he was able to blend in both scenarios pretty well. I know he had that like spur of the moment trip to Amsterdam with Bert Kreischer, which looked like a lot of fun. Um, Seems like he crushed that trip, but he is someone I've never been abroad with, so it's just a hunch. I know he's been abroad a lot, but I feel like you and Fights have a lot of the same strengths. So if you want to point out why you think you would be better to travel with than Fights, I'm all ears.
Unfortunately, I'm just going to have to big up Fights in this situation because I think not only would he go with the flow, I think that he'll do something that is an underrated characteristic when you're traveling, and he'll dress to the environment. And so he'll wear the right thing. Like, look at him in this picture. Like, he's in Italy or some shit with the fucking little gelato. Like, he's dressing like he looks like he belongs there. And I don't know if that means that he'd be wearing a dashiki in Africa and kimono in Japan, but I think that he would dress in a way that's like doesn't make him look like this obnoxious American. I think that he would figure out the right clothes to wear. He looks like goddamn Anthony Bourdain here. You know, he just has these understated, good-fitting clothes that make him look like he could fit into anywhere. He's not too flashy, but he's not too slovenly. He just has the exact right disposition as far as how he dresses, and I think that that could carry over to how he is just in general as a traveler.
Hmm. Yeah, I I was spot on.
Best dressed at Barstool. Okay, let's get to number 4. Biz, your hiking buddy.
Yeah. Now, I don't think he would necessarily be the most convenient person to travel with, just because everyone has seen him ordering food, and I guess that's like a reoccurring thing. Like he's notorious for giving waitresses a hard time and being very picky when it comes to how he likes his food. But I don't actually mind that. Like when he had that crazy order with me, I looked pissed, but at the same time, I was very amused. He's a very amusing guy to travel with. You're never going to get bored. Um, and he's very open-minded and very curious about the world. So, um, you know, uh, he's going to attack any activity with just full-fledged enthusiasm for whatever we're doing. And the main reason I have him on this list is because like, we filmed the first episode of Pekin. The goal is to eventually take that abroad. I think the series finale, this could be in, 1 year to 5 years, should be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. Because that's actually doable. I think it only takes a week as opposed to, 3 months if you're trying to climb Everest or something. But yeah, so hopefully we can turn that dream into a reality. And even though he was born abroad, he hasn't spent a lot of time abroad, and I think it'd be cool to widen his horizons.
Well, a couple things people are saying in the chat right now. One person said, "Real bad person if you're mean to wait staff." That's not what was going on at all. He wasn't mean to a wait staff. He was being very specific about his order and asking too many questions. But he had it all with a smile on his face, and he was super polite. And I know for a fact that he tips well. The other thing that they said is just don't come across any Irish travelers. I think that's a very fair point. But the third point that I'm going to make is not only you said he's come abroad, but he lives abroad. He already is abroad. Like he is in here in America, and from all the stories, he is abroad, and he might be in abroad if he spends enough time out here. So I think Biz is an excellent choice, a great guy to travel with. Let's hit number 3 on this list.
Sydney Wells. Now I have been abroad with Sydney Wells to the Bahamas to go spearfishing. Her dad's also big in the outdoors world, and he does all these crazy trips abroad. He once went on a trip to spear a hippo. He speared a full-size hippo with his own hand. Um, but the great thing about traveling with Sydney Wells is that she takes care of all the logistics, all of the planning, and you know she's gonna plan out some crazy activities that I just wouldn't know how to do otherwise. I think she went hunting in Argentina earlier. I've always wanted to go to that part of the world. And when I do my own travels, it usually falls on me to kind of like make the schedule, put together the itinerary, and that can be very time consuming. It can be stressful. But when you go on a Sydney Wells trip, she's got it all covered. She's she's definitely on top of her shit. And I mean, I like being outdoors, but I'm not good at hunting or fishing, but it's all cool stuff that I would like to learn more about. And with Sydney Wells, you're going to get that.
Imagine going on a bushwalk with Sydney Wells and she's like out front with a 12 gauge shotgun, like praying that some type of animal wants to pounce out because she just fucking right away is able to fucking smoke something. That you feel safe around Sydney Wells because you know that she's seen the light leave the eyes of multiple types of animals. Super impressive by her,
Yeah.
and she's not afraid of any circumstances. I don't know how she'd be in the city, but it doesn't even have to be that. She's a country gal.
Yeah, she's a country gal, but she's definitely been abroad, seems to have thrived. I know she's been to South Africa. So I think she sent me a list of all the places she's been. She's been to South Africa. Let's go see Canada, New Zealand, Argentina, all beautiful spots that, I'm sure she would like, she would put together a great itinerary there.
Let's get to the top two on the list. Number two, White Sox Dave.
I mean, I would say international White Sox Dave is a completely different person than domestic Dave. Domestic Dave, he's just a miserable dude. He's probably like fighting with people in his Twitter DMs that are like making fun of the White Sox. Um, Not necessarily someone I would want to like spend a ton of time with, but when you get him abroad, he gets that light behind his eyes. He starts living life. He develops a zest for life that you just don't see when he's in Chicago. And he's down for anything, down to try new foods, down for new experiences. He also doesn't really seem to think that foreign currencies are real money, so you can get him to pay for anything. He's just throwing bills around all willy-nilly. He's definitely disrupting local economies because like in countries where you're not supposed to tip at all, he'll just be like leaving like 30% tips.
Respect. He
But
doesn't want to be a
yeah, no,
scumbag.
yeah, he doesn't want to be a scumbag, but I guess if you talk to Lord, do not do that. You're fucking it up for all of us. Um, but yeah, no, just he really, I think he was probably the MVP of the Baldstool trip. He got along with like all the random stoolies we brought, all the other coworkers, and then just the local people in Turkey too. Uh, and I had the honor of being the first person to ever take him abroad. So he's always going to have a soft spot in my heart. Um, and yeah, he can kind of roll with the punches. Our first time abroad together in the Dominican Republic, he woke me up the second night being like, I got to go to the hospital. I'm dying. I guess he had food poisoning. Um, so I found a clinic. He got on antibiotics and then immediately just started drinking on the antibiotic. He drank on the antibiotics and got like way more sick. I think he probably came down with COVID, but even though his body was slowly falling apart, he just you know stayed focused and made sure we still got great content. So he was dedicated to the cause, and it's going to take a lot to slow him down.
White Sox Dave, always a great guy to have around. I think he's very underrated in his kind of joy for life. I think that he could be funny in lots of different ways than people would expect, but if he's somebody who's curious and who is not afraid to talk, I think those are the kind of people that you want around in high stakes circumstances like that. It's been a hell of a list so far, but without further ado, Donnie, we want to get your number one person to travel abroad with. It's PFT, your Hong Kong Sevens brother.
Yeah. So our first time meeting up in Hong Kong, we had probably only met one time prior, uh, but that didn't stop our relationship from blossoming. I kind of saw that he attacks content with a ferocity you don't see too often. He kind of just like he got right off a 16-hour flight, and we were just hitting the streets, uh, kind of just walking around the crazy nightlife streets of Hong Kong, interviewing random passerbys. And then the like at Hong Kong Sevens when we did Molly, that was kind of all his idea. I was like, dude, I don't think it's a great idea putting that on camera. And he was like, no, no, it's fine. It'll be hilarious. And then it turned into one of my best videos. So kudos to him for really not giving a fuck and just you know, I guess I don't know how I want to say it, grabbing life by the balls. Like he really wasn't phased. The fact that he flew 16 hours to Hong Kong, like raged for 2 hours, and then flew 16 hours back to New York so he wouldn't miss a podcast. Like that's insane. Like I think that would destroy a lot of people mentally and physically. But for him, it didn't seem to be too much of an issue. So I was just impressed with what he's been able to do. And then we met up at the World Cup, and it was a similar thing. He was kind of just like in and out, only at the World Cup for 3 days. Uh, wasn't phased at all by the time zone change, by the cultural differences. Just kind of throws himself in to any situation that he finds, which leads to good content, but more importantly, a lot of fun.
PFT, one of the most fun guys you'll be around, one of the nicest guys you'll ever be around, one of the most curious guys you'll be around, one of the most talented guys that you'll be around, and just a genuinely exciting human. And honestly, he was such a gem over there that he made you look like the asshole when you punched that guy in the mouth.
I think I came out looking good in that
I'm
interaction
joking. I'm
because
joking.
that dude was dropping F bombs. He was calling people,
Nasty slurs.
yes,
Foodies. Oh, I thought you.
homophobic slurs. Yeah.
I thought it was a
So
real F bomb.
yeah, no, no, no.
Damn, Donnie. Well, what an incredible list, bro. Thank you for so much of your time, and thank you for breaking it down. I think that this is going to hurt some people's feelings, the people who wound up on the naughty list, but I think that you had a good reason for it, and you weren't scared to say the truth, to say the real. And I think not being scared is one of the tenets that make you a great traveler. You know, the fact that you're not scared to get into certain situations, you're not scared to stand up for yourself when someone calls you a foodie, or you're not scared to see the world as it is. And brother, what do you have coming up? Anything fun coming up that we could check out other than Drop a Pin, which people should be checking out every week?
Yeah, drop a pin drops on Mondays. Going back to Mexico City, June 15th for the NASCAR races. If you want to go, fly down. I'll probably see you there. It's a very fun city. It's becoming, I think it's becoming almost too popular with Americans that I heard that some spots in Mexico City are dulling down how spicy their salsas are because of American tourists.
Because the gringos?
Yeah, just because of gringos. So don't do that. You don't need to change because of us. Hopefully, we'll film another episode of Pekin in July, maybe in Wyoming. And Roan, I would love to do some with you at some point. At least maybe some IRL streams. I know you've got some coming up. At some point, we should try to get a joint IRL stream on the books.
That would be so fucking fire.